fell out.
Okay, hold on.
It's screwed in.
So if I run it through now, are we going to be good?
Function F8.
Yeah, it's function.
Very cool announcement to make, and we'll make it again. So
And if I do it again, well,
There you go.
there we go. It's up.
There's the other microphone. I guess we can put this on the same side, most likely. Here, and just place it in any pocket available.
Got
Okay,
it.
Jordan Maxwell has agreed to talk tomorrow. And he hasn't done anything in quite some time, so it should be very interesting. That will be at 10 o'clock. Our first speaker of the day is Pt1of8, and that is going to be a historical moment.
Sir, you got one more.
Okay, why don't you get me on this side here?
Even you out.
Who was part of the
Because I'm
government
tilting over too
program.
much already.
This one weighs heavier, so you'll.
And
About,
he has not really spoken in public very much at all. Certainly not.
Actually, you know what? Here, let me put it down here.
Of conferences, so that should be something not to miss. He's an amazing guy, amazing capacity, not only physically but also as a psychic. Okay, Rich Dolan, how's it looking?
I think we're ready.
You ready to go?
Oh, that's not mine.
Okay, we're gonna tell everything we know about Rich Dolan because we kind of know him well. No, all his big secrets. So just get ready, get your notebooks out. No, I'm kidding. Just trying to make him a little paranoid here, as if he's not paranoid already. No, just kidding. Okay, he's such a political guy that he has his hand on the political pulse, and. He's got a brand new book out, and Bill has actually read it. I haven't had time lately. I read his other book, though, and I can tell you he's a wonderful writer. And UFOs in the National Security State, we've been waiting forever for the second volume, and finally it's out, and apparently it's absolutely phenomenal. Rich is just an amazing guy. Let's see, do we say Rhodes Scholar? Finalist, whatever, and historian, brilliant mind, very level-headed, politically astute. He's also himself an intuitive. He doesn't tell you that, but he is. And I've known him from before Camelot, so I have to say that I actually tried to spur him on to more radicalism. And I know we have to move things along, Bill. Okay, Bill, why don't you do the official introduction? I think I've pushed around enough dirt here.
That was the unofficial one. Okay.
That's
The official introduction is very brief. 20 years ago, I read Timothy Good's Above Top Secret, which was known by many in those days as the Bible of ufology. That's the book which you give people who doubt the reality of the phenomenon, and then you say, okay, read that, and we'll talk again. Now there's a new book that supersedes this in every way. And as Kerry was saying, it's not just one book, it's a trilogy. And Rich has just published the second of 3 volumes, 638 pages is the second volume, which takes it from, is it 78 to 90?
73 to
73 to
91.
73 to 91. Some very interesting years in ufology. And volume 3 is from 91 to the present. And Rich has got no other role here than being an academic historian with all the combination of intellectual rigor and thinking outside the box. He's surfing on the waves of history itself here, chronicling these times which are unique in the history of the human race. I believe that Richard believes this too, and he knows probably more about this subject now than almost anybody else on the outside of the inside. And I'm not going to say any more.
outside of the National
Richard,
Security State.
take it away and tell him everything you know. You've got 1 hour.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks very much. I don't know if everybody can hear me. Can you hear me in the back? Yes? If you can't, let me know and I'll... All right, well, I think that just changed. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to thank Bill and Carrie for that very gracious introduction, and other people here at Camelot who've made my trip here a lot easier and more pleasant. I thank them also. I've already enjoyed meeting a number of attendees here, as I've often felt that I absolutely mean this. I learn more at the conferences, I think, than you do from me. And the reason is that there is never a lack of brilliant people who know an awful lot about this, and they typically will come up to me. Some of them will come up to me during the conference and proceed to tell me these incredible things. So it's always worthwhile for me to come here, and I also just enjoy meeting people. I do have a new book out. It's the second volume of UFOs and the National Security State. I do have some copies here. I hope I brought enough, but the book is easily available now at my website and on Amazon.com. And I will be talking a little bit about that. For my quarry today, I have titled my lecture, Exopolitics in a New Key, Creating a Fresh Roadmap. I don't know if that's a bit ostentatious or not. I wrote it on the plane on the way out here, so it's literally it's a brand new lecture. So let's begin. I've got three basic themes that I want to cover today. First, I do want to talk a little bit about my book, not to market it, but really because it's relevant toward the later themes that I want to discuss today. I have thoughts I've developed some thoughts over the last several years about exopolitics. I've never written explicitly about exopolitics, but for various reasons, I am often asked to comment on exopolitics. I have, for example, spoken at every one of Stephen Bassett's X-conferences. In fact, I think I'm the only person who's spoken at all of them, and I've attended and spoken at all of the National Press Club events that he's had. So that's something of an exopolitical event, and that's put me within that whole discussion. So I have some thoughts about exopolitics, which I think are my own, and I'd like to share those with you today. And I'd like to wrap it up with continuing along those lines with my own thoughts on where we are headed as a society, as a civilization, indeed as a species. I think it all works together rather well. So we're a little bit behind schedule. I want to move right ahead. My new book is subtitled The Cover-Up Exposed. It took me about 5 years to write this book. Actually, it's impossible for me to know because my first volume that went through 2 editions, and that second edition came out in 2002. And people back then, I was brand new in the field at the time, and people said, "Oh, that's a pretty good book. What about the rest of the story?" And I thought, yeah, I have to do that, don't I? So, but then I wrote a lot of articles, and I did various public speaking venues and so forth. And I estimate about 5 solid years of working on this particular volume. It took a lot out of me in a lot of ways, to be perfectly candid with you. It was a hard book to do, harder than the first volume I wrote. I was lucky because after that first book came out, a lot of people came out of the woodwork and offered me their resources. I had one very, very dear friend of mine, an elderly gentleman who when he passed away, left me his entire immense library of nearly a shy side of 1,000 books, not to count numerous uncounted journals, an enormous, enormous library collection, which I actually read. I went through all the journals. And you have to understand, when I read these things, I'm very methodical, if you know me. So when I read a book, I don't just read it and say, "Oh, that's a good book." I have my notes and usually my word processor, and I take notes all the way through. And every little datum that I think is interesting goes in the notes with the citation, page 77 of this issue of this journal, whatever. And it goes in so that I put them all together into an enormous database. My UFO database is equal to, I think, about a 4,000 page book. And it's from that actually I put all my narrative together. So it comes from literally hundreds and hundreds of different sources, dealing with ufology, but also dealing with politics and geopolitics and parapolitics and whatever else you want to call it. and all other sundry weird things that strike